Good morning, curl friends. I think it's been a while. So, hello, it is Dr. Crystal, and I'm here for another installment of Curl Friend Chronicles, where we invite our curl friends on and we talk all things natural hair care and really focus on giving you the tools, support, and access you need to make natural hair care easy. And so, I'm super excited to have my curl friend with me today. I see that she is already here, so I am going. So, girlfriends, thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited to get into this conversation today. I know that you will find it valuable and I know that you will enjoy it. And here is my girlfriend now, Dr. Theoria. And always, girlfriends, I've learned on this natural journey that one, struggle is not a given. And then sometimes we feel or we may think that we are struggling on our own on this natural hair journey. And so I created Curlfriend Chronicles to one, help normalize that struggle, but then give you simple solutions, practical application to ways that you can actually make your natural experience easier. And so part of me paying it forward to you on this journey is inviting girlfriends here to help us normalize the struggle and then give us gems and nuggets on how we can better approach our natural hair journey and how we can do it well and with grace, and so that we can ultimately enjoy that experience. So I am super excited to have Dr. Theoria Kaysen here today. I am going to give you some space to tell us who you are and what you do, and then I want you to tell me what you love about your natural hair.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Crystal, and good morning to all of your curl friends who are joining now or who may watch later on. So my name is Dr. Theoria Kaysen, but I was awesome before the title, so feel free to think of me as Theoria because my mama gave me a great name. But in my daily practices, I work to help organizations create spaces that are inclusive and belonging for people who hold marginalized identities. I have my own consulting firm, Theoria in Praxis. It's a mouthful, but it's a play on the phrase theory to practice. So I think a lot about the work that I do. I'm very learned in this space, but I'm also about that action. So I take the things that I've learned and I put them into action to help cultivate organizations that are inclusive and belonging and promote peace.
That is really awesome. I think, especially in the advent of natural hair becoming less of a trend, but more of a lifestyle for people, it is important that as people begin to grow and embrace who they are, the companies that they work for need to be well versed and trained in being able to not let uh, certain cultural biases be a thing that affects the way that they approach their employees. So thank you for the work that you are doing in that space. And as we get into this curly conversation, I would love to know, what do you love about your natural hair?
Yeah, so I love the versatility. Like if I want to have a blowout, I can have a blowout. If I want to have a two strand or a twist, or if I want it to be big, I can make it big. If I want to make it small, that's the thing that I love most. And I had to grow into my appreciation for my love for my natural hair. But we can get into that journey the more you ask me questions. But it's certainly something that I'm very proud of. I love my hair, and there is a global consensus that I have great hair because every country I go to, or spaces I go to, people say, "I really like your hair." So that also is very validating and affirming as well.
No, and I think that's super dope. I think the more and more girlfriends that I have on, the more and more they are realizing and appreciating the versatility of their hair,
Hmm.
and the more and more they're getting to a place where they feel more comfortable and confident with their hair. And it is very affirming to have
Hmm.
people to actually acknowledge the beauty that is the natural hair that is growing out of our heads. So I can 100% appreciate that. And I too appreciate the versatility of my natural hair and just the ability to get to a place where I could feel good about it,
Hmm.
not question myself about how I felt about my hair, being open to trying different styles. I usually am a creature of habit in all parts of my life. And so when I find something, I will stick to that thing. But as I continue to learn more about my natural hair, as I continue to, even as myself that teaches someone to embrace their natural hair, as I continue to embrace my natural hair, I am appreciating and exploring the versatility of my hair as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. And curl friends, you may have heard before that our hair is not versatile, or maybe that you can't do many things with it, but you absolutely can. It's just a process of being more intentional about learning more about your hair and taking the time to figure out what the best practices are when it comes to caring for it. And so good morning to all of my curl friends who are joining us now. We are here with Dr. Fioria Kaysen, and we're talking all things natural hair care. And so as we get into this discussion, I know you said that you had to, well, let me start here. So one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on, and I do realize that it was in the context of diversity inclusion in the workspace with identity, but I saw a post that you had posted about identity in general and just being aware of our identity. So I want you to kind of touch on that identity aspect and how it comes into play, or maybe how it came into play for you when it comes to your natural hair and really stepping into a place where you could feel good about your natural hair.
Well, so stepping into a place where I felt good about my natural hair happened long before I was anybody's doctor or professional in any context. And so I have to give credit to my mom because she did a really, really, really good job of having those confidence building conversations with me very early on. So she wouldn't put a relaxer in my hair. Nothing against folks who have relaxers, but when I tell you I was a little kid, and those, I don't know how many people who are watching now or who will watch later, but remember Just For Me, those Just For Me commercials used to tear me up when I like every time they came on television. I would look up at my mom like, really? Like I can't have one? Because everybody had one. And so I used to get teased in school, in elementary school, for not having a perm and for not having relaxed hair. And she saw how those conversations were really taken away from my power. I have a very distinct memory where she put my hair in Afro puffs, and I went to school, and a kid like threw a cheese doodle or something in my hair just to see if it would like stay, because I had so much like surface area. And then I was walking around with a cheese doodle in my head, and I didn't know, right? So of course people were making light of that situation. And I think when she saw just how much it was like causing harm to my ability to show up brightly in school, she started having those conversations with me early. And then beyond encouraging me and requiring me to wear my natural hair, she also bought all kinds of supplies and tools and all the things to encourage me to touch my own hair, to learn how to manipulate it. So when we talk about like the versatility of our hair, there's some people who don't know that they can do their own hair, and that they can wash their own hair, and that they can like style it, because they just have been too afraid to touch it. Like they just, and so she gave me those tools, because she also was like, you don't want to be beholden to, like, what happens if your stylist decide to move to another city? Like you just not gonna know how to have your hair done when you go to work. So just very like practical, like pragmatic wisdom about like skills a person needs to have in order to ensure that they can show up confidently with the hair that grows out of their head. So with that, transitioning into even like college, I used to have a blonde afro for a while. She gave me blonde hair. I asked for brown, and she made it a little bit. I think the lightener just went so quickly. It was like, ooh, brown to blonde. So I was blonde for about 18 months to 2 years. And so I started my college career with a curly blonde fro. And that became the thing that people knew me as. Like, people would be across the yard like, hey, yo, that's the girl with the blonde fro. So the conversation and the topic about hair and whether or not it is good or bad, or how to manipulate it, has always been a part of my life for
Mm-hmm.
various reasons. People have been drawn to the conversation about the hair that grows out of my head. And when it comes to professional and corporate spaces,
Mm-hmm.
it's never been a question for me as to whether or not I will wear my hair naturally. Because at the point in which I began to work professionally, I was like, yeah, like y'all not paying me enough to also dictate how I have to like spend money to go. So what you're not gonna do is like dig into my pockets in that way. So I never really felt like I needed to make a choice about how I wore my hair in professional spaces. I did feel like I needed to learn how to develop some skills to do my hair so that I felt confident in what I could offer and just how I showed up comprehensively. And
Mm-hmm.
so I got a lot of hair. It's a labor of love. So I don't complain about it. But like that has been the journey, is figuring out what skills can I bring to my, like, investing in myself and the
Mm-hmm.
time that I spend on caring for my whole self, manicure, pedicure, and every follicle gets attended to
Right.
because I invested the time to learn and develop the skills. Yeah.
And I think that is very important. One of the things that I do like to tell my girlfriends, one is that applied knowledge is power. And I think
Hmm.
sometimes we give our power away
Hmm.
because we don't know enough, one, about our hair. We haven't taken the time to explore. And so then we fall victim to letting what other people tell us about how our experience should be, how our hair should look, what it means to have natural hair. We let someone else tell us that. So we relinquish our power, when indeed, if we took the time to do some intentional learning about the hair, about the unique characteristics of our hair, about what our hair could do, about what styles look good on
Hmm.
us, we would alleviate a lot of the uncertainty that we experience when it comes to natural hair care. But then we would also be in a better position to decide for ourselves what
Hmm.
works best for us,
Hmm.
what styles look best on us. And so we don't fall victim to seeing, I know you said just for me, but even now when we see these natural hair advertisements or these pictures of natural hair,
Hmm.
seeing a thing and thinking this is what we should look like, when in
Exactly.
reality, a lot of times the characteristics of our hair don't match the model that
Yep.
we see. And
Yeah.
so I think, one, applied knowledge is power. And I think it is also important that as we are raising little people, or as we are interacting with smaller people that are developing their own personalities and identities, that we create that environment of affirmation that also empowers them. So maybe they don't have to struggle the way we did, or approach our natural experience the way that some of us did. Because I did have it just for me. I even had a curl. So like I have had all the things.
Yeah.
So so I think it is important to build that muscle of confidence early on, so that we aren't beholden to what other people think or feel about our hair. And so, girlfriends, I would love for you to kind of drop in the comments what were some maybe self-affirming moments in your life that helped you feel more comfortable on your natural hair journey, or that helped you feel more comfortable in being able to step into different places and spaces with your natural hair. But then I know sometimes for many girlfriends, it is a struggle to feel comfortable and confident. And I would say the first place to start, or the best place to start, is taking the time to actually learn more about your hair. When
For
you
sure.
know more, there's very little that people can tell you that will negate the facts. So as a pharmacist, research is my thing. Like, I'm gonna research some things and I'm gonna ask some questions. But when I know what the facts are, when I know what the truth is, there's very little that you could tell me that is going to cause me to give up that truth to kind of fall in line with what you're trying to tell me about my hair, what you're trying to tell me about whether it's professional, what effects it has on my level of intelligence, or whether or not it's appropriate. And so I do also appreciate what you were saying about when you started in the professional arena, you were pretty much already, well, were already secure in your identity, or secure enough with your natural hair. And I think I was fortunate because my boss at the time, well, when I started my transition to natural, she was already
Mhm.
natural. She was also a Black woman. And so there was never a question. Now, some people may have been fascinated. Some people act like they didn't know I was the same person when I came in with my hair looking different. But there was never really a question of, can I do this? Am I allowed to do this? Will this be acceptable? And of course, you know, you deal with individual people and their personalities, but I never felt like it was something that I could not do.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a lot of internal me having to get to a place where I felt good about it, where I felt comfortable walking out. And I am grateful that I really embraced my natural hair or started that process on maternity leave. So that was 12 weeks that I was at home. That one, I was allowed to, in my mind, look crazy, but then also I had a little bit of time to kind of get to a place where I could really feel good about my hair, where I could try to learn a little bit more. Because I will say, when I first started, I didn't know half of what I know now, but I could at least start playing around with my natural hair, trying to get to a place where I was comfortable, trying to get to a place where I was confident. I don't think at the end of those 12 weeks, I was, but it at least set the foundation for me to be like, you know what, at the very least, I can do this. These are a handful of styles that I'm comfortable with. This is where I am on this journey right now. I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to do my best to invest in learning more about my natural hair so I can get to a place where I am more comfortable and confident. So, curl friends, if you're just joining, we are having a chat with Dr. Theoria. We're talking all things natural hair care and our natural journeys, focusing a little bit on our identity. And then I think we're going to talk a little bit more about building that confidence muscle. Because I know you said you had to grow into feeling more comfortable and confident. And you talked a little bit about how your mom helped you to get through that process or to work into that process. So what were some of the things that you did that actually allowed you to build that confidence muscle? I know the home base your home was very affirming, but what were some of the things that you did when you might not have necessarily had that same home environment that allowed you to be more comfortable and confident on your natural journey?
I'll share a couple of things based on all that you shared, and I'll begin one by answering your question. So I would say it's probably been like 18 years now. But in the process of doing my hair, when I was in college and being on a budget, like as a college student, I was, exploring different cost-effective products that may not have been the best for my hair. And I have a cousin who used to be a stylist. And so just having a conversation with her, she offered a recommendation for a product and then communicated to me just the value of using like a line of products and just trying like, the shampoo and the conditioner together to see like how that would change, if at all, the outcome. And so one of the things that I did was take her advice as a person who knew what she was talking about. And I found the products and I use them, and I still use them to this day. But also, again, and I'll just go back around to like touching my hair, like actually, because my hair naturally, it goes into like a real tight afro. So like I got a little hang time, like if I was to gotta get into it, I got a little hang time, right? But when I wash my hair and I don't manipulate it, it just scrunches up really tightly. And a wash and go for me just meant like a very short afro, but there were times when I wanted to be able to have my hair like move in the wind without, having to go get a blowout, because I live in the South and it's humid. So, it's just not a practical everyday style for me to invest time or money in. And so I touched my hair. Like I just learned to do the twist, like similar to the style that you're wearing your hair. I learned that 2-strand twist worked for me, and so it gave me a little bit of shake and it gave me a little bit of hang time, but I still got the curls. And so I just learned how to just play around with styles that I saw on other people and master essentially like a routine that worked for me. But I also like believe in like just again like caring for my whole person, right? And so if we're talking about identity, the post that you're referencing is one where I said that identity is inextricably linked to power and
Mm-hmm.
privilege. And so to the point that you made earlier about how really important it is for us as women to take our power back in terms of how our beauty is defined and how we show up in places and spaces, that's not something that someone can do for
Right.
us. Like as an expert, or like I can give you all theoretical frameworks and I can give you all of the affirmations, but you as listeners, right, have to internalize the affirming messages that work for you and then practice them every day, not only by verbalizing the things that you want to believe about yourself, but by taking action and literally like just learning how to touch your hair and like play around with it on the weekends and figure out like what style. Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's okay.
Okay. Figuring out like what style is one that you can play around with.
Mm-hmm.
You feel confident, you know, when you make the style on Saturday and then like it look kind of, you still feeling cute on Sunday, then like wearing it outside on Monday and see what kind of feedback you get, you know, sending a picture to your girlfriend and like, hey girl, they're like, is this part straight? Like, can I do this? So there's also value in like having a tribe of women or people who find value in your beauty and find value in how you want to show up like as a human, and getting feedback from them if confidence is something that you're struggling with in terms of feeling very secure in wearing the hair as it naturally grows out of your body. Find people who value your quest to go on this journey and your quest to go on this transition, and just ask them for feedback about a style that you're playing around with. Find a natural hairstylist. Like it's hard these days. It's so hard these days to find people who still want to do natural hair. But if you find
Right.
someone like, and you find a good one, like keep them and pay that person so that they will want to continue to keep you as a client.
That part.
And when I tell you, I got a lot of hair. Like it's manipulated now, like in a, you know, to look like a nice respectable quantity, but it gets rather voluminous and takes up a lot of space. And it requires like effort. And so if you can find a person that cares for the health of your hair and not just doing a cute style
Mm-hmm.
for the moment to like collect your coins, like keep that person so that they can share the wealth of knowledge they have as an expert, but also help like share the load. And so that's been some of my the techniques that I've employed as an adult, like just trying to find someone else who can help me manage this luxurious mane. If you can't tell, like one of the ways that I build confidence, right, is like about by speaking affirming
Mm-hmm.
things to myself. So I'm being playful, but I'm also trying to role model like behavior that all of you can take right with yourselves, because the words that you say about you
Mm-hmm.
matter most, more important than anything that anyone else will say about you, or any piece of legislation that might come about an aspect of your identity or about a portion of your body. Like what you say about you and what you believe about you matters more than anything else. And that, like as a single person, like one day I want to grow up and have, you know, a family, a husband and children. And like I envision like having these just like bold ass, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can cuss, but please. I just
think we're
finished
all
my
grown.
thoughts. These like bomb ass, bold ass, beautiful daughters with, you know, who are proud to be Black and have a head full of hair and know how to wear their crown proudly. And so as an adult and an educator, I'm so thrilled to see all of these books that are being
Mm-hmm.
created to affirm young Black children and young children of color to find value in their hair and to feel confident in their natural hair. But that doesn't mean that we as adult women have to like miss the movement of validation. It
Mm-hmm.
just means that we have to be intentional, not only in like pouring affirmation and validation into our children, but role modeling the fact that we find value in who we are and how we show up to our children, because
Right.
less of what we say matters compared to what we show them, right? And so all of you who are on the call, who are watching now or later, like you got to speak life like to yourself, right? You can empower yourself and confidence in how you identify, whether you're at work or at home or out in the streets, by the messaging that you tell yourself. And the way your hair grows out of your body is lovely. Like, and I don't have to see you to know that. I just believe it with every core of my being, that there is no way to compartmentalize an aspect of your body and say, I like
Right.
this part, but not that part. Like it all. Like it all. And if you don't love it now, learn to love it. And that will serve you well in all aspects of your life.
And it absolutely will. And I appreciate, I see Renee says she loves natural hair. I've met Renee, so I know she's natural. And she says she loves how Black men are also embracing their natural hair with locks and braids. And when you were talking about having a family and having these children that embrace the beauty of their hair, one of the things that I can appreciate as a mom of two boys, they do not have low cuts. They both wanted to wear their hair out. Now, they won't let me twist it, but they do. My youngest has a high top, and then my other one has just like a, I don't know what you call it, like a shaped afro or whatever. But they absolutely love their hair. One of the things that I always wanted to instill in them or to model for them is that it is okay to feel good about your hair. It is okay to take up space with this hair. It is okay to be confident with this hair. And most importantly, that it's yours.
Right.
So be proud of it. And so I think that is very, very, very important. And I think that it helps shape the way they move and navigate through life. Because now they're not having to worry about this part of their identity that they have to be self-conscious about or they have to be worried about. And that's the same thing that I want to create for my girlfriends, that you don't have to have this part of your identity that you don't feel good about, that causes you to kind of shrink yourself and give away some of your power to people because you feel insecure about it. And that is why I do believe that community is very, very, very important, because one, when we are in that community, some of the struggles that we may have faced or experienced on our natural journey, we can normalize. A lot of times we think that we are going these journeys alone or that we are experiencing some of these struggles alone. But if we can normalize them and then attack them together, it makes it so much easier to get to a place where you are more comfortable and where you are more confident on your natural journey. So girlfriends, community is very important. And if you are looking for a dope community, whether you are in the Central Florida area or not, I am creating a space where you can build confidence, where you can learn more about your hair, and where you can ultimately be more comfortable and confident caring for the hair that grows out of your scalp. So one, you do not have to go this journey alone. I also provide a wealth of information that helps you build the knowledge about your hair so that you can reject, which I think was very important that you said. Sometimes we receive negative messages about our hair and we let those messages play way louder in our head than we do the positive affirming things that we should be saying to ourselves, the things that help us to build our confidence about our natural hair. And in community, it is way easier to reject that negative commentary. It is way easier to build that confidence muscle. And so I would just encourage you, one, especially if you're struggling with feeling confident or even being secure in your natural journey, or if maybe you avoid certain things because you feel like that's not for you, to take inventory of the messages that you've received about natural hair, to the messages you've received about yourself, your beauty, your identity. Where are they coming from? And how much of that are you internalizing and then repeating to yourself on a constant basis? And so take the steps that are necessary to reject the false narratives. And one of the things that, I'm not trying to get real churchy, but one of the things that I have been studying is just how when the devil came to Jesus with his words, he combated those words with the truth. And so just make sure that you actually know the truth, which again goes back to being intentional, investing in learning more about your hair, touching your hair, and not letting what you see dictate how you should feel about your hair, how your hair should actually feel to you when you touch it, and how you should actually navigate or experience what is supposed to be your natural journey. Because I think we have all been given some significant misconceptions about what natural hair care is supposed to be like. We've all been told on several occasions that it has to be complicated, that it has to
Mm-hmm.
be time consuming, that struggle is a given. And the reality is, it doesn't have to be. You don't
Yeah.
have to know what you're doing out the gate. And so when you don't know, or you're not as informed as you would like to be, you may struggle, but you don't have to stay there. And so I think it is very important to reject the negative narrative, to call into question the negative things that you may think, and then to fight that negative narrative with the actual truth,
Yeah.
which comes from us investing and learning more about our hair and getting to a place where we actually become the experts on our hair. Yes, partner with an expert, but it's your hair. No one should be able to tell you more about it than you can actually tell yourself about it. No one's able to build your confidence to the point that you aren't able to actually execute it and carry it out yourself. So empower yourselves, girlfriend, build your knowledge bank, touch your hair. And one of the things that I will say, especially when you talked about community, this is not a style that I would have normally worn or chosen as a person with lower density hair. Sometimes I will, if I don't have the real estate, hair real estate, I might not feel like a certain style is for me. My go-to is a style that makes me very comfortable, because it gives a lot of volume, and then it allows me to feel good about the way my hair looks. But I tried something different, and it has been working well for me. And so now I have another style in my bag of styles that I can go to, that I can wear, that I can enjoy. That one helps me have fun with my natural hair, and then it also allows me to build my confidence when it comes to trying new things and enjoying new things and exploring the versatility, the capabilities, and the ability of my natural hair. So girlfriends, don't be afraid. And I talked to another girlfriend about this. Don't be afraid to play. One, your hair does not always have to be perfect. If you mess it up, figure out. I think a lot of the styles that I have come to enjoy came from me not getting it perfect when I tried another style. So, and me and another girlfriend call it playing in the middle. But don't be afraid to play in the middle. Perfection is not the goal. As long as we are creating an environment that allows our hair to thrive and focusing on improving the health of our hair, then we're good. My hair is not always perfect. My curls are not always popping and polished. I too live in the South. It is very humid and hot outside. So the frizz is going to be there. And that's the thing that I have learned to accept, to embrace, and to be okay with. So you can set a goal, but then also make sure that you're realistic in the goals that you set. That, again, goes back to having the knowledge about where you live, about the characteristics of your hair, about what your hair is going to do in different environments. And that will help you navigate different spaces and places so that you can be more confident.
One thing I'd like to add, because you said a couple of things. One, that like our natural hair is our own, right? So we own it, right? So I think there's an inferred message about our responsibility to take ownership about being attending to our temple, right? So like our hair is just a part of our body. And as I mentioned in my introduction, like I do work that promotes peace. And so there are a number of other factors aside from technique and product and knowledge and skill set. Like if there's stress in your body, right, that can impact like your hair. If like your diet, if you're dehydrated, right, like that's going to impact like your skin and hair if you're not providing your body with the correct like nutrients and sustenance. So there are all of these other factors that contribute to like the hair that grows out of your head, but it's important to interject that into this conversation because the hair is a part of your body and your body is your temple. It's the house that you live in. So being mindful about your physiological body comprehensively, where there might be stress in your life, you're absorbing that stress in your body, that could have an impact on like how your hair responds to a product or two or a style or two. So when we're talking about like confidence and identity, it's really, really important to think comprehensively about who you are and like comprehensively about how you're showing up and whether or not you have healthy boundaries that promote and protect your peace, so that you have the capacity to look at yourself in the mirror and affirm and validate and believe believe it, that you have the capacity to reflect on the things, those negative messages that Dr. Crystal was referencing, and like separate them out from like the external voices that you may be repeating, but also maybe internal narratives, limited mindsets and beliefs that you've internalized and you've never interrogated or questioned about how your hair is supposed to show up, how it's supposed to feel, whether or not you are allowed to show up in a space, or whether or not you can try something new. Like, who gave you those limiting beliefs? Like, interrogate those things. And like, where there may be people who are reinforcing or importing negative messages in your environment, or where there might be societal messages, like, all of that is a part of your capacity to show up. Because there are plenty of women whose edges are laid for the gods and their hair looks fantastic, but they still may not have the kind of confidence in their identity. And sometimes that, like, keeping the hair done is a way to mask a deficit in like how they feel about themselves. And so the conversation that we're advocating for is like comprehensive wholeness, and comprehensive confidence, and comprehensive attentiveness to the health of your body and your temple, including but not limited to your hair, right?
And I think that is also very important. And I don't know if she's on here, but I remember watching a thing that Gabby had posted about abundant living, and how we have a narrow understanding of what that actually means, but that it is actually comprehensive, and it's not just financially, but it's spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And then another thing where you talked about how stress and how it affects our hair. I don't think people actually take into consideration that a lot of times our hair can be the warning sign that something else is going wrong in our body, something else is going wrong with our mental, something else is going wrong in our life. And so when we notice these things with our hair, even though we should be creating the space where our bodies are thriving and where we are living abundantly, if you notice things where your hair isn't responding appropriately, where you think your hair may be shedding, where you think there may be situations going on, then we really do need to take a moment, seek medical help as necessary, but then also take inventory of what is actually going on in my life, what is actually going on internally, what is actually going on with me that may be causing some of these things to take place or to manifest in my life. And as a pharmacist, I'm going to say this anyway, but sometimes it doesn't always require medication. Sometimes it just requires lifestyle modification, which in healthcare is our first line of defense, or our first recommendation. Sometimes we will try to help you get to a place where you can do this thing without having to be medicated, versus strictly putting you on medication. Because sometimes if we just change the things that we are receiving, set healthy boundaries, change the dynamics in our life, then we'll realize that we'll create a better environment for ourselves. And I also appreciated where you pointed out that self-care is holistic, like taking a holistic approach to self-care, because I very much love for people to take a holistic approach to natural hair care. And that again means that our minds, our body, our spirits are all taken care of in unison, so that nothing is left behind, and so that we can thrive and live this life as we were intended to live it. And so what are some of your favorite self-care things that you do? I know you love to not only affirm yourself, but to walk out those affirmations and to live out those affirmations. And you've demonstrated that for us. But what are some of the other things that you do when it comes to caring for yourself and creating an environment where you can live in confidence and abundance?
I'll answer that question by sharing a succinct motto that I want to leave with your listeners. And it's two parts, right? So I fundamentally believe that self-advocacy is the highest form of self-care. And so believing in myself enough to know that I can take action to advocate for the things that I believe I deserve that may be lacking in my experience. But then self-discipline is the highest form of self-love, right? So I'm gonna stand for me. Like I talk about, like, protecting my peace. I will protect my peace with all vigilance. No is a complete sentence, and I absolutely believe in having healthy boundaries. But then I also have to take personal responsibility for what it is that I do, like with my temple,
Mm-hmm.
and what it is that I do with the peaceful space that I create and am willing to protect. And so that means engaging in discipline like practices, like making sure I get enough rest, going to bed at night, trying to get up succinctly at a certain time in the morning, taking naps in the middle of the day if I feel tired, and not being apologetic for the fact that my body needs rest, being
Mm-hmm.
very intentional about the food that I put into my body. So being very attentive to like my nutrition. I stay hydrated. Like I drink water all the time. It's not just advice that I offer to others. So there's some like really pragmatic things that I've
Mm-hmm.
been cultivating the discipline muscle for in terms of being mindful about quite literally how I'm treating my temple, like the house that I live in, and being very disciplined in those behavioral practices, because that's me taking personal responsibility for the part that I have to own in regards to caring for myself. So not just advocating that others treat me the way I believe I need to be treated, but like treating myself that way, which is the call, right? To
Right.
love thy neighbor as thyself is
Mm-hmm.
part of the message. And so sometimes people overlook that caveat, and women in particular will pour out of ourselves to the point of depletion under the pretense of loving our neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've really come to embrace is that I will love my neighbor as much as I love myself.
Mm-hmm.
I love me a whole lot, y'all. I love me. I love me a whole lot. And so when I give to others, I get to give from a place of abundance, because abundance of self-love and abundance of self-care. And so there are a number of like practices that I could offer in terms of, like mani-pedis and spas and relaxation and naps. All of those things are part of my like self-care regimen. If y'all like see any of my posts on the internet, you'll see like I travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, traveling is a part of a disciplined practice, a promise that I made to myself back in 2007, that I will leave the country at least once a year, every year for the rest of my life. So that's evidence of me keeping a promise to myself. So when we talk about self-care and the narratives, right, that we communicate, the messages that we communicate to ourselves, like do you love yourself enough to keep promise, to make a promise to yourself and keep it?
Ouch.
I'll let you all reflect on that question. And if the answer is like, if you say yes, then my follow-up question is provide evidence to support that claim. Because I can give you receipts of promises that I've made to myself and actions that I've taken to demonstrate that I am committed to the well-being of me, that I am committed to devoting time and investing resources and effort in my growth and development. So I can say, yes, I love myself enough. I care enough about myself to advocate for myself, to engage in disciplined practices, and to keep the promises that I make to myself. And I want all of you to be able to say yes affirmatively to that question. And if not, then that just means that there's an opportunity for you to grow in that area. But those are some of the ways that I practice self-care.
You know what, y'all? This is why I absolutely love to talk to her. Because if you ever needed to see what it looks like to love yourself well, what it looks like to stand in your confidence and to affirm yourself, I think that Fioria is a great example of that. And so you always leave a little bit more full, a little bit more richer, a little bit more determined to love yourself well well, I do anyway, when I have a conversation with her. And I hope that you do as well, girlfriends, that you have been encouraged to walk in your power, that I have, through bringing her here, modeled for you what it actually looks like to affirm yourself, to stand firm in your identity, to have a bold, confident love for yourself at whatever stage that you are in life. And that doesn't mean that you have to have it perfect. It doesn't even mean that you have it perfect all the time when you approach being confident and loving yourself well, but that you are committed to honoring the words that you say to yourself, honoring the commitments that you make to yourself, and that you have some nuggets now that will help you actually execute that and do it consistently. And then if you need a community to come around you and to hold you accountable, we're here, girlfriends, and we would love, 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 love to serve you, because the mission is not just for us as individuals to get to this place where we affirm ourselves and where we love ourselves well and where we are keeping the commitments that we make to ourselves, but that where we as a community of girlfriends, of women, of entrepreneurs, of business owners, as Black people get to a place as well where we can do this. And I think when we are able to do that, there is no limit on what we can do individually or even collectively as a people. And so my admonishment to you, girlfriends, is to love yourself well, to take some nuggets from what you have heard today, even if it's as little as picking an affirmation or maybe reviewing an affirmation that you have and then actually walking that thing out, so that you don't only say it, but that your life reflects that you believe the words that you are saying to yourself. Do that. Even if it is something as small as reviewing the messages that you've received about yourself, or the messages that you are playing on repeat in your head about your hair, about your beauty, about your worth. Picking one and then challenging that one. And then once you have conquered that one, pick another one and then challenge that one. Even if it is something as simple as setting boundaries in your life, or being committed and consistent to a healthier routine, or if you go home today or while you're at home, you have been encouraged to actually touch your hair and to learn more about it. Girlfriends, you can start at any of these places and you can get to a place where you're ultimately more comfortable, where you're ultimately more confident, and where you are able to stand in that confidence and love yourself well. So Dr. Theoria, thank you so very much. It is always an amazing time. And I see some girlfriends saying that they are so encouraged, and that they appreciate us creating this space and this nurturing community. And girlfriends, if you want to stay connected to this community, definitely visit my page, Bold Kulture Beauty, that you can get more information about how we can stay connected, how we can work together, and how I can help you get to a place where you are more comfortable and confident on your natural hair journey. And that does include taking a holistic approach to your hair care, loving yourself well, and treating yourself well. And then Dr. Theoria, please tell them how they can stay connected with you as well.
Sure, you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is Theoria Kaysen, so my first name and my last name. And I try to post like affirming and empowering reels at least twice a week, and then on Fridays, like you never really know, it's like it's a travel Friday, so you just get content of where I'm been or where I'm going, but it's because I try to share my lens of the world and where I go with other people who may not have the opportunity or may not feel empowered to travel. Like we out here, like we can go and we can take our natural hair, and wherever we go, like people find value in it. So yeah, Theoria Kaysen is where you can find me on Instagram.
Yes, and so it has definitely been a pleasure, and I'm gonna have to get on your travel schedule. I mean, I know we're gonna see each other in Texas, but I'm trying to go out the country as well. I was doing well, and then the pandemic and life kind of slowed me down, but I'm definitely gonna get back in that practice of loving myself well through traveling. It has been a pleasure to have you on. It has been a pleasure to share with all of you girlfriends this morning, and I'm looking forward to doing more Girlfriend Chronicles. Nobody dropped any questions. If you have any questions, you can drop them really quickly. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have for you. But girlfriends, make sure you stay connected. Follow Theoria at Theoria Kaysen. Definitely follow me at Bold Kulture Beauty. I have amazing resources that can help you learn more about your hair, get in the practice of actually touching your hair. And I recently created a resource for those girlfriends that are looking for amazing products to be able to better identify how to select products, intentionally select products that will meet your hair care needs. And I even included a curated list of quality products. So definitely check it out. It's a girlfriend's guide to product selection, and it is available now at boldsculture.com. But girlfriends, it has been a pleasure to speak to you today. It has been a pleasure to serve you, and my hope for you is always that you walk away a little bit more empowered than you did before we met. And until next time, girlfriends, go boldly. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.